the most beautiful equation in human history is just simply this: Gij equals minus k Tij, and Gij, everyone knows that it is Einstein tensor. Einstein tensor representing gravitational field, and this we call as energy momentum tensor. Energy momentum tensor. Why it is beautiful? It dictates birth, birth, existence and death of the universe can be mathematically dictated by, possibly by this equation. Origin, say existence and death of this universe possibly could be dictated by, mathematically dictated by, with the mathematics, pure mathematics, making use of pure mathematics, we can predict the history of the universe as we come to the history. So in theory of relativity, there is a famous term called the world line. World line. It is the lifeline of a particle or an object in space-time. So we do have, according to Einstein, space, if you can take space, x, y, z, something like that, x, y, z, and time t. Time. This is called the space-time. And then, according to theory of relativity, every event in space-time is predetermined absolute reality. Every event in space-time. Event in space-time is predetermined. It's already determined. Absolute reality. No one can change it. How? I shall explain. Consider a two-dimensional space. Whether you like it or not, every point is already there and is predetermined. Two-dimensional space. It is geometrical space. Two-dimensional space. And it is represented by x, y, a two-dimensional space. That point is already there, whether you like it or not. And similarly, you consider three-dimensional space. Say every point in three-dimensional space, x, y, z, can be considered to be predetermined absolute reality if you have a particular three-dimensional space. Likewise, from Einstein's viewpoint, every event according to Einstein, according to Einstein, can be represented by thus four numbers x, y, z, ordered set of four numbers. Every event. So that event is predetermined. So likewise, our birth is predetermined. Our death is predetermined. So if we are here in space-time, we do have a lifeline in space-time called the world line. Lifeline. Actually, we are having world band because every particle on our body is tracing its own space, curve in space-time. So usually we do have world band. For mathematical analysis, we think only about the world line of a particular individual and think there is only a single line. That is called the world line. So this world line can be mathematically calculated. How? Equation for world line is just simply this: d squared xi by d square equals Christoffel symbol ijk dxj dsi esk. I shall explain everything. ds equals 0. ds square is called the distance between two events. ds is the distance between two events. And distance between two neighboring events. ds. And it is expressed in a relation ds square equals gij, metric tensor of space-time, dxi dxj. Solving the Einstein field equation is very, very extremely tough. Einstein himself, that great mind, he took 80 years to solve this equation, keeping sun at rest and planetary motion around the sun. And he obtained the metric tensor of space-time around the sun, gij. So according to him, sun is moving in its own world line around the sun, the planets are moving like this. So this curve, this spiral is determined by Gij in space-time. So Gij is obtained by solving Einstein's field equation. Great man, the super genius ever lived in human history is only Albert Einstein. According to me, no other one can come near to that great genius. So if you know Gij, you can easily calculate this Christoffel symbol of second kind, ijk. Then fill this equation, get xi. Xi here means, say this is xi. X0, x1, x2, x3, x4. x4 equals t, x1 equals x, etc., etc. So generally we call it as event xi. For sake of simplicity, I goes from 1 to 4. So this xi in space-time can be determined by this equation, and thus we can find the horoscope of a human being, provided we do know Gij, effective Gij acting on the particular being. That is very difficult. So far no one did solve even a two-body problem in quantum mechanics. Only in theory of relativity. Only one body problem in quantum relativity is solved. Sun, if you consider sun, assume that sun is having a great mass, around this everything is moving, and think only the gravitational field produced by the sun and not even the gravitational field produced by other stars. So Gij, that took 80 years to solve this equation, mighty equation by Albert Einstein. And so when you consider a particular person, his body may be influenced by all the matter in this universe, every matter. First, so every matter, influence of every matter on his body, effective determination of effective Gij is practically not possible. It's very tough mathematics, because when you combine one Gij with another Gij, it becomes non-linear. This behavior cannot be easily predicted. You cannot just add two Gij simply. It is impossible. Other mathematical difficulties are there. You have to reduce the Gij acting on his body to his own body frame of reference, first frame of reference, by possible mathematical calculations, but that is not an easy way. So you of course that is true. Now we find this, we already found gravitational field produced by the sun by finding explicit expression for Gij. Now I ask anyone to shift the center of the sun to your own body. Principle, in mathematics, in Einstein relativity, it should be done, it can be done, but not an easy job. In Newtonian physics and in special relativity, in Newtonian physics, acceleration is absolute. In general theory of relativity, acceleration is relative. Suppose you are going from Kollam to Madras. you can, according to Einstein's concept, you can always assume that you are absolutely at rest. Kollam is running away from you, Madras is coming towards you, and you can, in principle, solve Einstein field equation, this equation, but not an easy task. So there is nothing wrong. Einstein say Mr. A is going from Trivandrum to Kollam, Mr. B is going from Kollam to Ernakulam. Then he say, with respect to A, Kollam is Trivandrum is running away from him. With respect to B, and Kollam is running towards him. And with respect to B, Kollam is running away from him, and Ernakulam is approaching towards him, provided you specify this with respect to the observer. So with respect to the observer, there is nothing wrong in thinking that everything is moving around him. That is general theory of relativity. So with respect to sun, everything is moving around sun. With respect to moon, everything is moving around sun. Einstein says you are true, but you have to say that with respect to your body frame. My rest frame is always my body frame. My body is always at rest with respect to me. Wherever I go, my body is also there. So with respect to your body frame, if it is possible for you to find out the effective GIJ acting on your body, then of course making use of that effective GIJ, you can find out mathematically Christoffel symbols of second kind and solve these equations called the geodesic equation in space-time. So you can determine your birth, death and everything. Because in theory of relativity, there is no free will. Everything is predetermined. There is no free will in general theory of relativity. But if you want to impose free will in general theory of relativity, you have to think about local time fluctuations, quantum fluctuation in your time. Possibly then you can think about free will in general theory of relativity. According to general theory of relativity, this is the fundamental thing. So astrology, but when you consider astrology, ages of observations made by astrologers helped them to construct a set of empirical relations. Not they were not great mathematicians like Albert Einstein. They constructed a set of empirical relations, mathematical relations that were derived by their own observation and experiments. And they predict something because the sequence of events in the world line of an observer remains invariant under coordinate transformation. So the sequence of events in my world line, ഞാൻ ജനിക്കുന്നത് ഞാൻ മരിക്കുന്നു, എൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ ഉണ്ടാകുന്ന ഓരോ sequence of events is that sequence of events remains the same for observers. So they found empirical relations to find out they tried to establish a sequence of events in your life with the position and motion of the planets and other things. Of course, that sequence of events shall be identical of a particular person, shall be identical to other observers also. So that is astrology. So the astrological is somewhat an observed empirical set of relations they based on. And Rahu, Ketu, Guligan, etc. are possible mathematical objects. They introduced for sake of mathematical feasibility of calculations. In mathematics, we think about imaginary number I, where we use it for say integration, complex plane, other things. So we use it. If you ask me whether imaginary number exists or not, that I don't know. We use it for complex mathematical calculations and find